All right, class. First off, as always, good day. Glad you're here. So, last assignment, we talked about the rise of Hitler, how he came to be, basically from when he was a kid up into the war and as an adult, and basically when he took over Germany. Now we are going to look at the Italian side, and we're looking at this guy named Benito Mussolini. Now, Mussolini in this picture is the bald guy on that plank. Okay, we're going to look at him. He again is the will become the leader of Italy. Okay, so there's your warm-up picture. I believe the first question asks you to write down four things that you see. Okay, now this picture has a lot of stuff, believe it or not. Um, if you look at the background, you look at the foreground, you look at the pictures in the middle part, onto the side, there's quite a bit going on. Um, right now, it may not seem like you know what's going on. You're like, okay, there's some things you can obviously pick up. But by the end of this video, you should be able to look at this warm up again and be like, oh, okay, I get what's going on here, or at least the majority of it. Okay. So go ahead, finish up the warm up. The notes are going to start in three, two, one. Okay. So Benito Mussolini was actually born Benito Amicari Andrea Mussolini. That's like his whole name. Okay. He was born on July 29th, 1883. And I'm going to just call it Davia, sorry, um, Italy, because it's a long name and I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I'm going to butcher it. Okay. Um, now, his dad, Alessandro, he was a blacksmith, basically a person who, if you don't know, it works with metal. They know how to create metal, know how to make metal bend, things like that, create swords, horseshoes, things like that. But the thing is, um, his dad really had two passions in his life. One of them was a socialist politicalness. So anything dealing with socialism when it comes to politics, the dad was into it. And the other thing was his mistress. The dad had a woman to the side, and the thing is, he loved her so much, and apparently he just anytime she wanted something, he got it for her. Anytime she needed something, he got it for her. He'd spoil her as opposed to spoiling his wife. Okay. Now, Mussolini's mother, on the other hand, she was actually a Catholic teacher, right? She taught school. And the money she got, she would spend it on her family, make sure that everything was stable in the household and so that they had food, as opposed to the dad who would spend it on his mistress. So here's the thing, Mussolini was actually the oldest. He had two younger siblings. Now, at a very young age, he showed um, this kind of like ability with like intelligence. He was actually very smart, very keen, picked up on things very quickly. And people were like, wow, this kid is actually pretty smart. But as he grew older, that kind of got overshadowed by two other traits he had. And one of them was disobedient. He would not listen to anybody. You know, people told him, hey, clean up your mess. I'm not gonna do it. Just anything and everything, even if it's something he wanted, just because someone told him, no, or someone told him something, he would go the opposite way. And the other thing was his rowdy behavior. He didn't keep things inside. He just let it out. And again, that overshadowed people's like, oh man, he's really smart. They looked at him more like, oh my God, he doesn't listen and he just about everything. This guy's kind of a jerk, you know. So that's how he was when he was a kid, right? And the thing is, he, his dad, his dad's passion for politics kind of rubbed off on him, and this is where the kind of defining authority kind of comes from. So we can kind of now look and say like, oh yes, look at this. His dad was saying, yeah, don't listen to authority, don't listen to that. They want you to be their puppets, that type of stuff. And he took that to heart. and I would guess that's why he lashed out. You know. Now here's the thing: Mussolini was actually kicked out of a lot of schools, but well, one of the reasons he got kicked out too was bullying. Okay, um, but in 1901, at the age of 18, he actually became a teacher. Yeah. So this picture right here is that's one of the earliest ones I could find of him, not when he's a kid, but when he's already a little bit older. So this is more than likely by the time he is a teacher. You know, maybe a little bit older. 22, because you can see that receding hairline right there. So all right. So then, um, like a year later, he goes to Switzerland to kind of promote socialism, to spread socialism from Italy to Switzerland. Now, this is where some people people who don't know him, right? They realize, wow, this kid's actually kind of charismatic. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to get your attention, things like that. And he has remarkable verbal talents. He can talk very well. He could put ideas together. You ever listen to somebody and you're like, what in the hell are you talking about? Because they talk about this, all of a sudden they go off on a tangent, and next thing you know, they're talking about something totally different, has nothing to do with what their original thing was. He could easily talk, come back, talk about something, come back, and make it all connect and have it make sense for people. Like, oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, that is true. Wow, now that he put it like that, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the thing is, while he's doing these speeches and people are kind of like listening to him, like, oh yeah, this kid's onto something here. The Swiss authorities were like, we don't want no socialism in our country, so they basically kick him out. Now in 1904, he returns to Italy to try to promote socialism. Okay, he's arrested several times and he's released, but this is where he gets an idea to how to spread his word faster, better than he can if he just stood in the middle of a town and started shouting at the top of his lungs. And that was through media. Now, what media is back then is not like it is now. Now we have the internet, we have TV, stuff like that. They didn't have that back then. Okay. Um, the other two big ways to spread was through the media was radio and newspapers. Radio, you had to have your own, because again, he's spreading socialism. No one's going to back him up. He would have to have his own radio station, and that took time, that took money, that took a degree in, you know, uh, how engineering, basically how radios works and things like that. So a newspaper became the easiest way for him, and he started it called Avanti, which means forward in Italian, and he was able to expand his influence like that. People were, passing it along, things like that. People would find it, and just start reading it. Now, the thing is, he publicly condemned Italy's involvement into World War One, but he after he was thinking for a bit, he was like, you know what, this would be a great way for Italy to get more power. So we could be from here to up here, along with Britain, along with, France, So he then joined the Italian army. Now, the thing is, the socialist group were like, no, we're not. No one's signing up for the army. No one's doing that. That's their thing. They just want they're using you as a puppet. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. So they kick him out. Okay, and that's a picture of him right there as a soldier in, I believe it's 1914, 1915. All right, so here is your midpoint question. First one is, do you think he became a teacher to try and spread his socialist ideas, to the kids, and then they move on and grow up, things like that? Or do you think he became a teacher to be like or to please his mother? Remember, she was a teacher, you know, and she did a lot for that family. She did more than the dad, you know. So do you think he did this as a way to spread influence? Do you think he did this to please his mom? Do you think he just did it as just to get a job? You know, so what do you think? All right, so go ahead, write that out. This first part. I think Mussolini became a teacher because, and tell me why. The next thing is, like I put on here, it's clear that Mussolini was very intelligent at a very young age. What's a trait that you have that was picked up when you were younger? So, like, what I mean by that is when, when you were younger, somebody, whether it's your mom, dad, cousin, grandpa, teacher, pastor, whomever, somebody goes, this little kid's pretty smart, or this little kid's really funny. You know, he sees the world differently, and he's a quick learner, man. I mean, I just taught him one time to do it, and also now he's really good at it. Um, are you like, are you like the perfect child back then? Well disciplined, while other kids are hanging off chandeliers and like, smearing the walls with like paint and crayons and stuff. Were you like charming? You knew how to talk to people, you know how to, when your mom said, no, you can't have a cookie, you'd be like, come on, mom, really? Come on, you're gonna make me beg, that type of stuff, when you can convincing, So what's a trait that you had when you were younger that other people picked up on? They're like, man, this kid's. Now I know a lot of us can't remember that kind of stuff back when we were younger. Um, so if you need to ask your parents, by all means ask them. Mom, was I like charming as a kid? Was I a quick thinker? Or even like your older brothers, sisters, your grandma, grandpa, whomever, text them or call them, or if they're there with you in the place, ask them, what's a trait that you had that was younger that like was basically easy to see for them? Like, this kid's pretty smart, he's charming, problem solver, quick thinker, uh, you know, whatever. Is there any trait that they saw at a young age in you? Okay, so in World War One, Benito he fought on the front lines. Right? Remember we talked about the trench warfare and some of that. He was at the very front. All right, and he actually reached the rank of colonel. But the thing was, he was wounded later on, and he was discharged from the military. It's an honorable discharge, but still it's a discharge. So he served his time. Now, in March 23rd, 1919, he started this group called the Fascist Party. Now, they basically, what they did was there were some groups, they're called the far right wings. And basically, there's a bunch of groups, and what he did was able to get them all united under one cause, and that was his. And again, that's where the fascist party comes in. Now, I know you may have heard this term before in movies and things like that. So here is the definition of fascism. It's a political philosophy that puts nation and sometimes race above the individual's rights. So if the government, let's say our government, needed, let's say we're going to be invaded from the Pacific Ocean over here, and they needed to set up a defense. The military could then, under a fascist regime, come in and take over your homes, kick you out, and make your house bunkers or headquarters or whatever. The military could basically do what they want because they have to put the nation's interests first above you. Now, in this country, a soldier cannot stay in your home, you know, at all. Unless you invite them in, you'd say, yeah, come on in, things like that. But that's you are giving consent. You are giving the right away. This place, they don't. They have no choice. Okay. Um, they try to be a totalitarian one-party system. So again, how right now we have Democrats and Republicans. Basically, they say no. It's either one or the other. That's it. Just one party. That's it. And the other thing is, they're always prepared to fight. Their military is constantly growing, whether it's weapons, soldiers, things like that. It doesn't matter. They are prepared to fight at a moment's notice. Also, they respond to economic difficulties, whether it's good or bad, things like that. They are ready to go um, economically. Okay. Now, the thing is, the fascist party in Italy proclaimed opposition to the social classes. They said, no, there should be no rich, medium, and poor class. They also supported the nationalist sentiment, which is, again, being proud of your country, be proud of where you're from, which is, again, like I said in the last video with Hitler, it is good to be proud of your country, but it's bad to be overly proud of your country. Like, we never made mistakes. Really? We never, slavery was not a mistake? Kicking Indians out of the country, giving them smallpox, that's not a mistake. No, we never did that. That's bull. That's what those people would say. No, we should never apologize for what we. No, no, no. We don't. We never did that kind of stuff. Again, you're ignoring facts of what happened. You know, that's what I mean. It's one thing to be proud of your country. It's another thing to completely ignore the bad things they did. In their history and what they are currently doing. Okay. The thing was Mussolini, which is right here. He wanted his idea, his goal was for Italy to reach the levels of the Romans back in the ancient times. Now, if you don't know this, which some of you guys who were not in my class at the very beginning of the school year, you probably don't know this. You may or may not, I don't know. But my students who've had me, you guys should remember how the Romans basically took over a large part of Europe and Africa back in ancient times. At the time it was known as half the world. They took over half the world. Now we know, no, it's not even half the world. It's like maybe like a fifth of the world, you know. But the thing is, they took over a large part, okay? And he wanted this Italy, the one he's in charge in, to reach that level, okay? Now here's the thing. He was upset with Italy's agreement to the Treaty of Versailles, and he organized this group called the Black Shirts. Now, these guys' jobs were simple: terrorize the political opponents and help spread the fascist influence. Okay. Now, with that, Italy, it was so chaotic politically. All right. Now, thing is, everything's going haywire. People are saying about fascism, socialism. Some people are saying the democracy. People are fighting, and there's talk about election frauds and things like that. Things are going crazy. Mussolini says to the Italian government, "Put me in charge, and I can restore order." Now, the thing is, they're like, well, he was a corporal. Things like he was in the war. People do listen to him. So, all right. So in 1922, he became the prime minister, which is basically the top person in the government. Now, things started to settle down. He did settle things down, but mainly, like I said, a lot of those people who started that stuff were the black shirts, his people. So he would tell them, back off, back off. I'm in charge now, back off. And at the same time, he was dismantling democratic institutions. So things that were like allowing people to vote on the next election. Nope, get rid of that. Oh, people have the right to express their views of the government. Nope, just get rid of that. Anything democratic, anything that suggests that the people have the right, no. When it comes to government, no. And after about 3 years, in 1925, he declares himself the dictator, which means like absolute ruler. And he gives himself a nickname, El Luce, which means the leader. Okay, so as you can see from this picture, he's loving that title, El Luce, and he gave it to himself. That's like someone saying, I'm the baddest," and the person weighs like 80 pounds and they're 5'3". The baddest of what? you know. Um, Now, as a dictator, he did do some good things that made some people go, you know what, maybe it's not too bad that he's a dictator. One of them was the public work projects, right? Basically improving the infrastructure, the roads, the water system, the sewage systems, things like that. Um, he reduced unemployment. He was getting people jobs. People have jobs, they have money. People have money, they're happy. And so this made some people happy. I mean, it really made a lot of them just like, you know what? He's People talk about dictators being all bad and you bow to me and this and that. And he's not doing that. He's actually making things better here. So you should listen to this guy. Okay, so here's the thing. We're going to skip through because the thing is, in 1935, 10 years later, Mussolini does something that's like kind of unexpected. To show their military strength and force, he invades Ethiopia, which is in Africa. Now, if you don't know the map of the world, Italy's up here, there's the Mediterranean, here's Africa, Ethiopia is over here. Okay? So he invades it. Now, Ethiopia is not that modern. They don't have the biggest army, but yet he attacked there and they were unable to match the modern tanks and the airplanes that Italy had. The amount of soldiers, it was just overwhelming. So they're like, dang it. So Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, was captured, and Mussolini made sure that Ethiopia was incorporated into the Italian government. I should say government empire. Now, the thing is, when news spread, oh, Italy attacked Ethiopia. What? Why? Things like that. Um, this caught the attention of another power-hungry dictator in Germany who was like, this kid's good. Yeah. And that was Adolf Hitler. They met, they talked, and they became good friends. Okay. Uh, Now, the thing is, in 1939, Mussolini supported other fascist groups. There was one in Turkey, and then there was the main one was in Spain. Um, and during that time, Spain was having a civil war. So there was fascist groups like Mussolini. We need help, because we want to be a fascist group. We could use your help. And Mussolini was like, this is a great way. They're asking for help. This is a great way for me to spread my influence. Because if I help them and they win, then they are going to be a fascist group. And then another group may want to become fascist. And both of our countries can help them out. And they're all going to be listening to me. Huh. All right. So this grand illusion of, this illusion of grandeur, it's what's getting him like, okay, yeah. Now, at the same time, he tells basically him and Hitler. Hitler tells him, "Dude, I got this big thing coming up. It's gonna be just amazing. Now, if you back me up, you help me up, I'm gonna help you out." And they basically sign a military alliance known as the Pact of Steel. All right, so we're at 1939. I'm gonna stop here with the notes because the thing is, if you know world history, you already know what happens in 1939. Okay, um, so now comes the question. So here's my question to you. Do you think that Hitler and Mussolini's friendship is a true friendship, or do you think that one of them is going to take advantage of the other one? And then why do you think this? Right? So again, we have two power-hungry dictators who are now friends, you know, and do you think that their friendship is actually going to be a friendship that they're going to back each other up no matter what? Or do you think that one of them is playing the other one and is going to take advantage of that friendship? Okay, so go ahead and write that down. Now, like I said, this is we're going to stop with Mussolini because now we've talked about Hitler, we talked about Mussolini, we see where their paths have crossed and now where they're at. On next week, or actually the next assignment, it's going to be on Stalin, the Russian leader. We're going to be talking about him. Okay. And so, with that being said, that's the end of this lesson. Hopefully, you learned something new. I know this one was kind of a little bit shorter, things like that, compared to the Hitler one, but again, you'll see what I mean. Well, you'll understand again about Mussolini, why people are kind of like, Mussolini. Okay. So, with that being said, you guys have a good day. Take care. Please, guys, stay safe. All right. Take care of one another. All right. And I'll see you guys later.